Director of Student Activities and the Student Recreation Wellness Center. So they asked me to come and visit about leadership, okay? So the first thing you need to know is that when you were responsible as a leader, you should always leave a minimum of 20 minutes prior to your engagement, because you get stopped so many times walking across campus. And I should have been here at a minimum 15 minutes before I was supposed to start. And as it was, when I walked in the door, it was just 4 o'clock, and that's when I'm supposed to be here. So this is going to be one of those discussions of do as I say, not as I do, okay? No. All joking aside here. Come on, you guys, you got to lighten up a little bit. But leadership is one of the areas that we have as our mission out of student activities, as well as the Student Recreation and Wellness Center, because we contend in our area, as far as supporting the university mission, that the opportunities you have outside of the classroom is very important, and it's also one of the areas where that's where you gain your leadership experience, is through your student organizations or through an intramural experience you're on a team, or you come for the women's climbing night, or you have a job at the rec center. Various opportunities that we offer through the student experience and engagement side of the campus, rather than the academic. You do learn a great deal in those co-curricular experiences. And so the reason that is crucial, I have my first question for you is, how many of you are aware of the transcript? It's like your activities transcript, or we call it the co-curricular transcript. Have you heard of that before? Oh, breaks my heart. So anyway, but we are finding, how many of you been to a job interview lately? Nobody? What are you doing this summer? Do you already have jobs? Okay. Summer internship. Did you have to interview for that?
I actually last week did a phone interview.
Okay. And do you have to have a follow-up then with your phone interview? Hi, come on in.
They just said they'll email me back this week.
Okay. So for your job, did you have to have an interview? Did you have to have an interview? Mm-hmm. Was it Skype, face-to-face, phone?
Face-to-face.
Okay. What were some of the questions they asked you? Do you recall?
Because, well, it's Forever 21, so they asked me, like, what my style was, like, what I enjoyed wearing.
Okay. And did you know what your style was?
Leggings.
Leggings?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And how did they respond to that?
They just agreed, I guess.
Did you get the job?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a positive. They must have agreed that you had met the criteria of what they were looking for. What's your job?
I have two. So I have an internship during every other, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have an internship at St. Luke's Hospital in the ER, which I interviewed for in the fall. And then I'm a nanny, so I don't have to interview that one.
Okay, okay. I don't know, probably the most critical interviewing I've ever done was for someone who was going to watch my children, so.
Well, family friend.
Right, no, I get that. So for your job interview, for your ER position, what kinds of questions did they ask you?
Well, they asked me why I was interested in the internship, and they asked me, like, if I'd ever shadowed at any type of doctor's office.
Are you a nursing student?
No, I'm a pre-med major.
Pre-med, okay. Good.
I want to work in the ER, so that's why they asked me that.
Right.
And then they asked me how I could really contribute to their ER, which was an interesting question, because I've never worked in an ER. I'm only a freshman, so.
Okay. Okay. So, did you respond to that question? How can I contribute?
I said just that I'm always positive, because like you can't have negative people in your ER, and that I would do anything possible to help somebody stay
So what I've just been asking you about in those interview processes, they didn't ask you if you knew, I mean, they might have, but not in what you responded for me. They didn't ask you if you knew how to give an injection. They didn't ask you if you knew how to take blood pressure. What they were asking you were the qualities that you possess as an individual, okay? The same thing, what's your style? I mean, did they ask you if you could make change? Did they even test to see if you could make change? So what I'm trying to get at is there are skills that are academically based, like since you want to be, you're a physician, you got to take chemistry. There's no way you can get around it. You're going to have to take organic. You're going to have to take anatomy, and you're going to have to take phys, and probably up through calculus and your math at least. My sister's head of the med school at the University of Michigan, so I have a little idea. You're going to be working your bahuna off, okay? So, but there's another side of the work spectrum there that I want you to think about, and it's those personal skills then. Your positivity, are you self-motivated? Do you have to wait to be told to do something? Do you see it and you jump to the charge? And those are leadership skills that I'm talking about, okay? Sometimes when I visit with groups, people express to me that they think in order to be a good leader, it's somebody who's outgoing and kind of gregarious, gets in your face, and like they get everybody all hyped up. That is one style of leadership. I would give you that. But I have had and have worked with some great student leaders who were very calm, very soft-spoken, very direct, consistency. All of those are characteristics that made them strong leaders. So I caution you that if you have not looked at yourself as a leader because of maybe some of those characteristics that or labels that we put on what a leader is supposed to be, trash it, okay? Because every single one of you has the potential to develop those characteristics that are going to elevate you above your peers, okay? Into those leadership modules there. Now, there is, I brought some information that I took off of the Dale Carnegie website, and mainly because they have lots of great free materials. And Dale Carnegie is a infamous alum from here, So we have over on the quad, there's actually a bronze statue of Mr. Carnegie. And, but you go on the Dale Carnegie website and you'll find lots of free materials that might be beneficial for you. So this is one of the things. It says 10 qualities of outstanding leader. Not just a leader, but an outstanding leader, okay? And that's not just outstanding in the field, okay? Ha ha, 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 ha. Okay, so, but let's just look at those. Leadership by example. Serving as an example for others. So, think about a person that you revere as a leader right now, okay? And think of their characteristics. Do they walk the talk? That's what number 1 is talking about. It's kind of hard, like I made the lame joke about do as I say, not as I do when I started, because I actually came in right at 4 o'clock. That is not, you're not going to follow a person who tells you one thing and contradicts that by their actions, okay? That person will not have followers. The number 1 quality that I would have put up here, and it ties in with this, serving in as an example, is that the best leader is also been the best follower, okay? So the best leader has also been the best follower. And you can't have leaders if you don't have followers, because who are they leading, okay? But if you know how to be a good follower, you already maintain the characteristics to be a good leader. So right here, visionary, providing a sense of direction for others. That doesn't mean everyone in your group agrees. That's not what we're talking about. But a leader has the ability to listen to other ideas and the vision that other people see, and is able to collaborate and get people to cooperate then in coming with a solid vision for their organization, okay? Strong communicator, listens and considerate as well as speaking. Trustworthy, behaving in a consistent, highly ethical and fair manner. Now the term ethics could be a whole semester workshop that you would want to participate in. And it's interesting how ethics is defined by individuals, but more interesting watching how people live ethically at work or out of work, okay? Again, are they walking the talk? Was that an ethical decision? To be calm, staying cool under pressure, especially when things go wrong. Last week was the worst week in my work area. I was hoping that spring break would get moved up a week. I mean, it was that bad, okay? But as the director, I can't go around screaming that the sky is falling, okay? I have to close my office door, take a couple of deep breaths, open the door, and how you doing today? Let's see, is there something I can do to help you? So-and-so needs some help over here. Maybe if we all went over, then we could get it done faster, and then they could help you with this project. You have to be the motivator. You have to being calm is so important, and it's underrated as far as a characteristic, I think. No one likes to operate in panic mode, okay? And if you have a leader, if there's someone that you've worked with before, that their attitude is the sky's falling all the time and oh, woe is me and stuff, just think about it. Do you gravitate to that person? You gravitate to the person that says, oh, we're going to work through that. Let's figure out how we can work through it. What is it we need to do? That's the person that you go to for leadership. Open-minded. Invites constructive dissent or disagreements. One of the things some of my staff members get so upset, they will avoid confrontation at all costs. And sometimes I'm evil and I will set up confrontation. Not to cause hurt feelings and dissension and as that such, but I want them to stretch their level of acceptance. We've got 9,000 students here. Do you think that, there's any 100 of you that are going to think the same thing about something? Yeah, maybe 100, but when you go 200, no way. Everybody's going to have a different approach to something. And so you have to be careful as a leader to make sure that your membership is willing to explore different opportunities and ideas. The groupthink sometimes can be a trap for you, okay? Especially when you let negativity creep in to your group. Professional, being respectable both at work and in their private lives. So you would not hear a leader speaking in a condescending manner to a team member. If the leader has a concern or an issue with a member of their group, whether it's a student organization or your employer, you need to set up a time and take that person aside. A leader would not correct in front of their peers, okay? Only if you're in that emergency room and it's a life and death situation, that would be a time where somebody might have to say, no, we can't do that. But if it's not life or death, you need to make sure that you're being considerate of others and understand that many times people take the wrong action because maybe they didn't understand. That's not how it was at the last place they worked or the last student group they were with. There's always a reason that backs up what our actions are. And so a leader needs to be open-minded and figure out what those triggers are. So clear thinking, nurturing, and supportive. And by nurturing, you guys, you don't need 2, 3, 4 moms you know, with you your whole life. There are times with my staff, you know, in fact, student activities office, on my door, the Spotlight kids actually put the lettering up there, Mama Rutt, okay? Now, at first, when they did that, I was like, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. And so I really tried to think that out. What did they mean by that? And so I let a couple of weeks go by, and then I asked, do you guys, you know, what's your perception of my role as the supervisor here? And the end result was, they meant that as a supportive and a compliment. It wasn't that I'm hovering over them. What it meant was that on the nurturing and the supportive is that they feel like, hey, you're gonna let us make mistakes, but you're also gonna let us learn from those mistakes. And so I feel much better because I don't want to be a helicopter boss that is not letting people stretch and grow themselves. I was given that opportunity to grow as a college student, and I definitely want to make sure that the students that I work with get that same opportunity. So this little handout is the 5 key skills for frontline leaders. We're not going to go over this one in great detail, but I thought it might have some information that you would enjoy, especially those of you that are already in employment or your officers in your student organization has some good key points there. How many of you are members of a student organization? What's your student org?
I've got a few.
What are they?
CSCFD, which is
Child and Family Development.
And then an extension to that group is CHAM,
Okay.
which is Child Life. And I'm also a group of the Project Green Environment.
Oh, okay. Good. And what groups are you in, ma'am?
I'm in Honors College, Tri Beta, I'm a CA in the dorms, and I'm in Delta Beta.
Okay. And Sigma Kappa. Okay. Do any of you have leadership positions, execs? What are you?
I'm a Panhellenic, delegate on exec.
Panhellenic?
I'm a chair, I'm environmental chair.
Environmental chair. Okay, yes.
I'm a
The VP, okay. So you all had to go through interviews to get those positions with your organizations too, or they decided, someone had to come up with the idea that you were going to be able to handle that. And one of the things in leadership that I think is really important also is that you need to, for instance, when you're asked the question, well, what do you bring to this organization? Again, they're asking for your more humanistic characteristics. Your skill set's great, like you'd be able to say, well, maybe I've worked the last 2 summers at XYZ hospital, or I had job shadowed with this clinical group. But the other things that you bring, it would be, I am a positive person. I enjoy working with groups, but I am motivated as an individual to pick up the slack when people need help. Those would be very positive things to look for. And this last handout talks about which of these 4 types of leaders are you. And so one is an envisioner, the other is an analyzer, a feeler, a doer, and there's both good and bad in all of those. And so as you read through those, you'll see characteristics. Remember a minute ago I was asking you to think about a person that you revered as a strong leader. Well, what I want to ask you now is, what are some of the characteristics that that person possesses that in your mind makes them a strong leader? Who was your strong leader? Your mom, and why, what characteristics does she possess that you feel she's a strong leader?
She's very faithful and she's always honest, and she doesn't mind confronting a problem, but she's very systematic about it, and she doesn't try to hurt people's feelings on purpose.
Very good. Those are all very important things. People, that's a person I would want to work with. And is that a DZ? No. Oh no. So what, the leader that you're thinking of, what are some of their characteristics?
Well, it's like my grandpa. He's like always there for other people, and he's like happy, and I don't know.
People enjoy being around him because of his temperament and stuff. Very good. You know, think about the people on the flip, you know, like if your grandfather is a happy person and people would want to be around that. Think about, you know, the friends you have and some of the organizations and the people that make it up. Those that come in with that negative attitude or are always saying, no, that's not gonna work, or we did that before, you know, wouldn't you like to just ask them to leave a meeting sometimes? Or just, you know, because we don't like to be around negative people, you know? And I would challenge you to set a time to sit down with that person one-on-one and say, you know, I'm not sure you're even, because a lot of times they aren't, I'm not sure you're even aware of this, but when you open your mouth, people are just cringing. You don't have to be as that blatant, but you know, like, you know their personality, so you could phrase it how you want. But sometimes people really are clueless about how they're sounding. They don't realize that they've gotten in that routine, in that response mode. And so you really are a friend when you can sit down and tell someone, you know what, you're just so negative. And that's showing a skill of leadership on your part. One, you're sending the message that you do respect them as a friend, and you really want them to be better than what they are. So who's your leader? What characteristic?
My Austin, he has the ability to like understand situations and react to them no matter what they are, which I find is a very good quality in a leader.
It is. They have kind of a sixth sense about them where they can figure it all out.
Approachable.
Okay.
Because I feel like if you can't talk to the person that's in charge of you, that you're not ever gonna get what you want out of working for them or being underneath of them.
My mom.
Okay.
She's a hard worker. She tries to figure out ways to solve problems and never gives up.
Persistence. That is a good quality in a leader. You know, for someone, this morning I had 137th graders over in the rec center, and I did team building from 8:30 till noon. And I noticed on the last activity, some of the kids, it was, you know, each of the challenges built up as far as difficulty. So this was the last activity of the day, and their frustration level, though, one in particular just says, I'm done. Just go ahead, I don't want to do it anymore. And so persistence is really important. And then we talked about that in the whole group. I did not single the person out, don't worry about that. But I think persistence is also an underrated quality of leadership that sometimes we don't appreciate. And persistence requires you, in order for that to be a positive, is to not throw your hands up and say, we're not going to do this, but to step back calmly. Remember, I said being calm was also an underrated characteristic, and say, okay, well, this didn't work for us this time. We need to process why it didn't work, and then while we're going through that, if you have any other ideas that might be spurred on for us to correct, and then maybe that will prevent us from failing again as a group. That's persistence, and that's being positive about it. When you go in like a bull in a china closet, that's not called persistence. That's called get out of my way, I'm doing it my way, okay? And that's hard for people to want to be a follower of, okay? Sir, what characteristics of a leader do you think of?
My dad, since he leads by example,
Mm-hmm.
and like at his work, or I work with him,
Uh-huh.
and when we want to get something done, he helps everyone else,
Uh-huh.
and it just shows that he wants to work as a group.
Right. You know, and that's one of the things that, if you were to ask me, one of the things that I revere as an important part of my leadership style is that I never, and I never have, and I hope I never will, ask someone that works for me to do something I'm not willing to do myself. So when we gotta roll up tumbling mats, or we've gotta put down chairs and tables, just because this tag says director does not mean that I don't get engaged there. You know what happens when you do that, and I'm sure your dad's had this experience, the respect that you gain from others, that, I mean, I had an instructor when I was here in college, back in the 70s, yes, who was my mentor, and one day in class he said, do you know the name of the custodian here in Levenger Building? My degree, my undergraduate's in recreation and public administration, and then my graduate work is in recreation and education. So I'm in undergrad, and he was going down the road. He says, do you know the name of the custodian in this building? And people are like, has he flipped out? What's going on here? And his follow-up was, and he asked another question, well, do you know who the dean of the college is? Well, we raised our hands. We all knew who that was. And he said, so you know who the dean of the college is, but the person who makes sure that your classroom is organized and clean and that the bathrooms are in orderly shape, you have no idea who that person is? Who are you reaping the rewards from more? And you know, that made such an impression to me that that's one of the reasons why I don't ask anybody to do anything I'm not willing to do, because I have reaped the rewards of that attitude as a leader. People want to follow you. People want to be engaged with you when you work with them, not work at them. If all I did was give my staff orders, or the student or the organizations that I belong to was to be defiant and say, well, that is a dumb idea, you need to do it my way, I am not going to be a leader. I'm not even a good follower at that point. So I really think that's an important message for you. It definitely impressed me, and it still has, and I will have been out of, let's see, I graduated in 78, okay? So that's how long I've been out of college, and I still remember that. That's a very important lesson that Dr. Beaver taught me, is you need to know there's no one insignificant in your organization, okay? What characteristic do you have, and who's your leader?
I'd say my grandma, because she's very vocal when something's like not right, so she'll stick up for what's right.
Mm-hmm. So activism is something that you do look for in leaders. People who are want to express that, wait a minute, this isn't how I think it should be. Maybe it's gonna hurt somebody, or it's going to be negative consequences. You just want a straight shooter. You want somebody that's gonna be honest with you, don't you? You guys have listed some great characteristics, and my challenge to you is that if you're not in a student organization, if you're not, if you don't have a part-time job or something, is to get in a student organization, and we have over 200 of them. This is not a plug to get engaged into student activities. It could be at your church, it could be, wherever, maybe a YMCA or something in your community. But you will perfect your leadership skills when you have a chance to exercise your leadership skills. And the only way, again, is you can be a leader is you have to be a good follower. And you can't have anybody follow you if you're not in a group. And so I would encourage you to, now is the time to perfect those skills. Okay? Anybody have any questions? I have jabbered entirely too long for you. But if you have any follow-up questions that you want, I have an office in the union. It's Union 217, Student Activities. And I have an office over in the Student Recreation Wellness Center, Garrison 189. So all you have to do is just say, oh, can you tell me where I'll find Beth? And they'll track me down, okay? As a plug, in April when you come back from spring break, this is shameful, I know, but I will be advertising for student employees for next fall. I will be hiring probably around 35 student workers for the Student Recreation Wellness Center. It's minimum wage, but you get to pick your hours. We use when to work. We're open 6 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to midnight on Saturday, and 1 p.m. to midnight on Sunday. And you get exposure to the student body, the faculty and staff, and you do get a chance to exercise some leadership skills there. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Thanks for letting me come over.